Hello and welcome to Mindset Kitchen, a show where I invite inspirational people to bring their three key mindset messages. I call them mindset ingredients because you're sitting here in my kitchen. I will be talking to people across all these three mindset messages, and in the meantime, I will also be cooking a delicious meal. My name is Diana Pilokaite, and I have a huge pleasure to introduce Stuart Wade. Hello.
Hi, Diana. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good.
So I'm going to ask Stuart to give a little bit of introduction about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? Why are you here?
Sure, it's all about the free meal. No, I'm kidding.
Good.
I'm kidding. My name's Stuart Wade. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and sports performance mind coach. And I'm also a lifelong martial artist. And that's, with hindsight, that's informed my path into the work I do now, although I didn't realize it when I was younger. And I help high-performing athletes, sports people, and also business owners or even high-pressure corporate workers to remove stress, lose weight if they need to, and perform better in their work and life. And that's me.
Thank you very much. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you did loads of championships, UK-wide, and
I did a few, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a few is not 3 and 4. A
Yeah,
few is
yeah.
quite a lot.
Yeah,
in your world.
Yeah, I tend to be quite humble with these things, but yeah, I've won 4 world championships, 3 European championships, and 20 British titles during my time competing.
A few.
So just a few, yeah. I did okay.
There's no need to be humble about this, I think. I had a Zoom call with Stuart prior to the show, and I noticed the collection of trophies. You could find that probably in a wholesale trophy shop as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, isn't it? It's incredible.
There's definitely enough to start a shop behind me. Yeah, but it's what I've always loved doing. You know, it's martial arts is a big passion of mine, and being able to compete and be successful, it was great.
And when did you start doing that?
So I started training when I was 6, so almost 30 years ago.
So it's too late for me to get all those trophies.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
Good answer.
Yeah.
So I've asked Stuart to tell me his 3 favorite meals, which are delicious, but I had to choose one of them. And today we'll be cooking a steak for you. I love steak. It's one of my favorite meals. I thought, oh, well, great way to cook for a special guest. So I'll be cooking ribeye steak, triple cooked chips with peppercorn sauce, and a side of grilled iceberg lettuce with kind of salsa verde. Kind of made it up myself. I tried it yesterday, and it was really nice. And
Sounds good.
I'm not an expert on balancing all different flavors, but I think it hits quite a few notes that when you add that to the side.
Okay.
So without further ado, I'm going to choose the first mindset message that you brought, which are all incredible. I'm looking forward to talking about it and seeing your angle on them and why these messages that you chose to share with all the people here today. So the first one is, have conviction in what you are doing. It's an essential ingredient of mental toughness and getting what you want. So share what you mean about that.
Sure. So I remember hearing an interview that Tony Robbins did a long time ago. And he was talking about the difference between having belief in yourself or belief in something compared with having conviction. And the message really resonated with me because it was very much like he was speaking to me, because I always had a conviction, that self-assurance that I was going to win, or I was going to pass the next grade, let's say, so, black belt and the gradings in martial arts. I would go in to the grading or the tournament with the mindset of, I've already won this. It wasn't a belief that I'm going to win this. It was, I've already won. I had that conviction, and it was just a question of time for it to manifest, if that makes sense. So having belief is great, but building on that and having a conviction that you can and you will, or you even have already achieved what you're setting out to, it's a really powerful mindset to have, I think. And it's certainly served me well in my time, particularly in martial arts competition, but also with my work. Yeah.
I mean, I've got goosebumps even, like, that's amazing. But how did you come across it? Like, is it because someone told you, and as you said, Tony Robbins kind of, gave it to you, so you kind of like pursued it? Or is it something that you applied because of your, career and your mindset from early age? When did you start actually using this as a kind of base for you to be successful?
Sure. So I think I was already doing it, and hearing Tony Robbins talking about it just cemented it in my mind that, oh yeah, that's me. That's what I'm doing. And from a young age, when I started training, I didn't actually like competition when I first started, but I had a natural talent for martial arts. I was good at it from the off. Once I got a little bit older, that's when I started to enjoy competing, and that's when I started having more success, and my self-belief was building even more then. And once I'd gotten old enough to appreciate it, sort of mid-teenage years, when I was aware I am good at this, I can win, I can represent my country in this, that's when the mindset really solidified for me, in that I'm going in here having already won this in my mind. I just need to show everybody else now. So yeah, I think I was already doing it, but hearing it from Tony Robbins really solidified it in my mind.
And then you saw the results as a result of it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm quite pleased you mentioned it, because I am having the same mindset as well. And Tony Robbins is someone I look up to, and I listen to his various podcasts, and I watch him on YouTube. And just today, actually, I was talking to my friend about something as well, because this morning I woke up and I was, oh my God, I've got a horrible headache, I've got migraine, but I'm going to do this. And what I was doing as a little prep talk to myself, I was saying, this show will be amazing today. We're going to film a great show. The meal will be delicious for Stuart. And I was like, wait a minute, why I'm saying will be? I need to say it is. It is, because all we have is now, And I was saying, when you think negatively or positively, the universe doesn't know the difference. So might as well say it as you already done it. So it's like, the video is amazing, the steak is delicious, Stuart is having fun. So I sat there, like, kind of like prepping my mindset, you know, I don't have a headache. It's not like I'm not going to have a headache in a few hours, So I totally see your point as you approach everything with the mindset you already have it, The same in like, let's say I was an investment banker, and in my job, if you want to become director, you need to act like one already. You can't just become one and then show what you are. You be in it already, and that's how you get the title. So it makes sense, even not from the mindset perspective, right? But if you have that mindset, you actually then easily approach all of those steps in life that are challenging, but you actually own it already before it even happened.
That's right.
So yeah, I think it's quite powerful. So give me a couple of examples where you literally kind of like done it and you're like, oh my God, it's exactly what I said. I had this conviction, it happened. Or is it all the time for you now happening?
So it's not all the time, but I'm working on it. But one main example that really stands out for me is my 5th Dan grading in Taekwondo, and it was also a kickboxing grading as well, where I went in with the mindset of, I've already achieved this. I know that I'm good enough to have this. Now I just need to show the examination panel how good I am, essentially. And it's not in an arrogant way. It's just it's just that conviction. I know this to be true, and now you're going to see it.
Wow.
And
it needs to come from here almost, isn't it? It's like it.
Absolutely.
You have to feel it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it can't just be a thought in your mind. You have to feel it. And yeah, my grading panel, the examination board there, they were very, very impressed. And I think I was the first person in the history to get 100%.
Wow.
On that particular grading.
Wow.
And I remember there was one particular panelist who did not want to give me 100%. And I kind of concur with him, because perfection is a myth. There's no such thing as perfect. But
yeah, the steak will be perfect.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, there's always an exception. But yeah, so that's the time that really stands out in my mind, because it was a really tough grading. It lasted for, I think, 6 hours, something like that. It was
6 hours.
It was hard, real hard work.
Wow.
And but I knew that it was, that I was already achieved. I'd already achieved that, what I set out to. And yeah, it just, time needed to catch up. That was all. But yeah.
So you said conviction and belief is slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah. I believe that conviction is that little step further on than self-belief. It's unshakable. In your very core that you are good enough, or you have achieved whatever that thing is that you're after. The belief is kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Diana. The belief is, I believe I can do this. Mm-hmm. The conviction is, I know I've already done this. Time just needs to catch up to show it.
I really love that, because I haven't had in my mindset the word conviction before. So you gave me something new now to take away and think about, because to me, belief was all I needed to even start this journey. Let's say if I did not believe this is going to be successful, I didn't believe that people will not get inspired, or didn't get anything from it, I wouldn't even start from it. So I had all that belief. But now, obviously, then actions need to follow.
Yes.
But now you gave me this other angle that I am going to be using myself. And I'm going to be looking for conviction going forward rather than the belief.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm thinking now that I'm definitely having that conviction about today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. And you have to start with the belief, because if you've never done something before, how do you know that you can do it? Whereas if you have the belief that you can to start with, and then you start taking action, like you said, when you start getting positive results, then you have evidence to fall back on, and that can build your sense of conviction then, because you've already started on the path. You've already gotten some results from it, some positive results, and even the negative results, you can look at what didn't go right and modify your approach next time. And so it's all evidence to build your conviction going forwards.
So you obviously been exposed to all of these competitions. Did you have people who were kind of supporting you with the same mindset and, on the same wavelength, supporting you to have this mindset, or was just all on your own, in your own head, or you were actually sharing it out?
So I think I probably did. And the only reason I say probably is because I was so focused on me. I wasn't really looking to anyone else for that encouragement or that validation. But I'm sure that they were. My parents have always been incredibly supportive of me and helped out with my training, and from being 6 years old, my coaches, training partners. Yeah, there's always been that support there. But as I say, I think I was very focused on me with it, yeah.
Well, I think that it's, as you say, the support, you're not looking for support from anyone else, so you have it within you.
Yes.
So let's say we are talking now to people who not necessarily in sports, you know, in any of their careers. Like, how do they start about having this conviction?
So getting clear on what you want to do is a good starting point. If you want to drive to a destination in the car, but you don't know the postcode, how are you going to get there? You know, and how is the sat nav going to guide you to get there? So having that goal in mind to start with is a great thing, and then to build on that, having that reason why you want to achieve it, that's going to then build more emphasis and motivation to actually get out and take action towards it. Yeah.
So knowing why you want to achieve it.
Yeah.
And I guess the destination, the goal, isn't it? The
Yeah.
two key aspects.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you, Stuart. You probably start hearing in the background steak. So how do you want your steak cooked? Nearly forgot to ask.
Medium is fine. Or
Medium
or medium rare. I'm happy with either.
Perfect.
Thank
That
you.
means I got 2 chances to get it right
Yes.
or wrong.
Yeah.
But I like to say in a positive way to get it right. So if it's medium rare or medium, it's perfect. That's how I like my steak as well. So these are particularly big steaks, which means I'm going to try and make sure they're perfectly cooked. Okay. So you happy if we move to your second one?
Absolutely. Let's do
Sounds
it.
good. I love the first one, and I love it that I'm actually taking away quite a lot from it. The
You're
conviction.
welcome.
And every morning now I'll wake up, you know, because I do lots of things in my own head, and you know, I talk to myself in a way to try and feel in the persona that I want to be. And I might not be there, but I want to feel it how it feels like. So if I meditate, I see myself, what I'm wearing, where am I, who is around me, you know, and
Absolutely.
so it's all real in reality. I don't know if you read the book Joy Dispenza, and from there, I'm actually reading it right now. I don't know why I only started reading now. I've read quite a few different books of that type, and it's about creating your reality, isn't it?
That's right.
It's doing what you want to do already now, and that conviction angle is quite magical. And I don't know if I can even express myself what it's given me today, but it's quite a good takeaway. So thank you. Okay. So the second one, it's a quote, which is also really a good quote. Comparison is the thief of joy. So where did this come through in your life?
Yeah. So one drawback of being competitive is that you can often fall into the trap of comparing yourself to other people, to your opponents, or if it's in a business context or in a work context, you compare yourself to other businesses. You know, you might compare yourself to your siblings. If you're in a big family, you know, you compare yourself to your older brothers or sisters who might be doing something better than you think you can. So anytime you compare yourself to someone else like that, you're in effect robbing yourself of feeling good about yourself, because you're putting yourself in lack. You're immediately thinking, oh, that, you know, so-and-so, or that person's doing it better than I can, or they got this thing that I haven't got. So you're putting yourself in a mindset of lack by comparing yourself to someone else. So in that instance, comparison is the thief of joy, because the only person you should be comparing yourself to is you from yesterday, or you from 5 minutes ago, or whatever the time period may be, so that you're able to progress against yourself rather than comparing against someone else. If that makes sense.
And I guess it's really hard because how do you, because we all tend to compare, right? You know,
absolutely,
in everything we do.
Yeah.
And so how did this, if I may say, negatively impact you when you did compare? What did you notice?
So that I would feel bad. essentially, in whatever way that came, I wouldn't feel good about myself. And as you say, we all fall into that trap, in whatever context it might be. We all fall into that trap of comparing ourselves. But if you have the presence of mind to catch yourself when you're comparing, and then think about all the good things that you do have, and it ties into gratitude in that respect. You're grateful for who you are, what you have. Who cares what anybody else has got, And you're combating the negative feeling that you would have by comparing yourself with positive feelings of being grateful. Well, actually, I've got all this going for me, or I've achieved all this already. And it's about maintaining that positive state of mind. And like you said before, feeling it as well. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I know I compared myself, thousands and millions of times, and sometimes I guess I could say on a positive angle, if I do compare, it gives me the drive. Okay, I'm like, wow, this person has got this, and I don't have that. I want that, so I could go and get it. But if you allow that comparison to kind of take over you in a sense that you think lesser of yourself, then naturally you carry that forward with everything you do, isn't it? So when you say you need to notice that bit, so it's that having that self-awareness, isn't it?
That's right.
And I've been doing a lot of coaching, and as you do hypnotherapy as well, you notice that people naturally we're not really aware of so many thoughts that go through our minds. Thousands of thoughts every day. We don't even realize that they're going on there. And also majority of those, for example, before I even started doing anything with mindset, majority of those were negative. So, comparing myself, not good enough. And then noticing how actually other people are still doing better, and you're like, I was doing all the things. What else is not right? Because you keep on comparing, isn't it? So it's almost you're going round in circles. So again, like a question, because you chose this quote, so there is a reason. Obviously, it was really important throughout your career. When did you notice that as well? When did this all started for you?
So the quote I only noticed in more recent years, but I remember when I was younger comparing myself to other people and feeling badly about myself with it. And as you said as well there, Diana, sometimes it can be a good thing because it can drive you towards achieving that thing, or they've got this thing, I want that too. I'm going to go for it. It really depends on how you contextualize it within yourself. But I remember, as I say, when I was younger, feeling badly about myself with certain things, and that quote spoke to me because it reminded me of that, and then also served as a reminder. Well, actually, how far I've come since then, and how much I've developed myself and my mindset.
So it's almost, for example, if someone, if we're talking now and it relates to someone, and it's actually making people think, oh, actually, I do that all the time. It's a good way. What I do, I just write down the things that I really believe and I stand by. How else do you think people could implement this kind of mindset? Because to have your self-awareness, it's almost like I've got that more from my coaching, because I've been coached and I realized all the things I said to myself and I was not even aware. So somebody else is almost like having a mirror who talks and tells you, how to be self-aware and when to be aware of all these things coming to your mind. What would you advise to people if they don't have a coach? Not everyone can afford coaches. Not everyone wants to have coaches. Not everyone thinks they need a coach, right? So there's all sorts. But what would you advise if this person would say, you know what, I like that, but where do I start? Do I write down and then look at it every day, or how do I get there?
So It depends on everybody as an individual, in all honesty. What resonates with you? If you are a person who a positive affirmation or a statement resonates with you, you really connect with words. And if you're more based in, let's say, an auditory type of learning style, so hearing the words resonates with you more, maybe saying a positive statement to yourself like that is what would be good for you. For someone who's more visual, maybe it's a positive image of yourself, and it doesn't have to be anything grand either. It can be just a memory of a happy time, or if you've got a photograph of a time when you were really happy, or in a certain location, doing something like that to put you in a positive mindset. Exercise is always a great thing, and not necessarily just, going to the gym and pumping iron, whatever it might be. Anything that involves moving your body that you enjoy is going to help make you feel good. And so it really it depends what resonates with everybody as an individual. But then listening to podcasts like this one and getting ideas from people in this space is a good way, and most of the time it's free, to get advice on these types of things to help boost your confidence and then your self-awareness as well, so that you can actually educate yourself to catch yourself when you fall into these traps.
It's really good. I like that advice, actually. Depending on the person, isn't it?
It does.
Some people remember by like kind of visualization. So I would probably remember the quote written on that paper, and that's how it would come to my mind. But some people would remember by hearing it, right? Or someone else telling you, or writing down, and so on. So yeah, I guess it all depends really on the individual. And how does it work for you?
So for me, visualization is quite good. I'm quite a visual person. It's
let's do a little pause. I'm pouring brandy in the pan to get the alcohol off. Sorry for the noises.
It's okay.
You're quite visual person.
Yep. So yeah, I'm quite visual. So when I can close my eyes and visualize whatever it is that's going to put me in a positive state, that really works for me. But and to be honest, that was how I became aware of my affinity for mindset work, to be honest, because that was what I started with, visualization, when I was competing. And now, knowing what I know, doing certain types of visualization and making sure that you're engaging all of your senses as well as best you can is going to make it even more powerful, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's going on out here in the material world compared to what's going on in here. So if you can make it as real as possible in your mind, you're almost tricking your brain into thinking it's real,
Yeah, and if you attach emotion, as I said, to that, it becomes even more real.
Absolutely.
Because I think I noticed I remember more things if there was an emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, things made you really happy or really sad, you remember those moments. But things that did really nothing to you kind of like tend to forget about them a little bit, because there's no emotion, so body didn't feel it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's how memories are created, by the experience and the emotion that you felt at the time, whether it's positive or negative. It can go both ways.
And so that's why when you say have a conviction, or make yourself, or be more aware of when the certain thought comes in when you're trying to compare yourself, is it has an emotion to it, isn't it? And I guess all the things we will talk about today will have to have that emotion, isn't it, involved for you to actually be in it and be, having that conviction and being self-aware that you are not comparing yourself to anyone. And if you do compare, you compare it in a positive way. But I wonder, how I did compare myself many times on a positive matter because I looked up to people.
Yes.
And that's maybe just one angle. But when we do compare, I think what you referring to is more like where it makes you feel sad because you don't have that, or you think less of yourself, isn't it? And then you obviously you were in many competitions, so you could see people doing so well. You could have easily done, oh my God, he's amazing, I'm never going to be like him or her. So yeah, and it's going to just knock you back quite far in your career, isn't it? And that one little thought can change quite a few things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I assume you have quite a few more of these things, but it must have been really hard for you to choose these particular messages, isn't it? Because they attach to so many other messages in a way.
Yeah. And when you asked the question for these messages, I tried not to overthink it and just see what came to me most quickly, and just intuitively go with those messages, because most likely they've played a big part in my life. And so, as you say, there's probably people watching or listening that understand that because they've been there as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is make your peppercorn sauce. So just put in brandy, quite a lot of it. I was surprised. I've got the recipe. I'll put the recipe on my website. But it's quite a lot of brandy. And then I'm going to I put already a beef stock. And then I'm going to put cream and green peppercorns, trying to slightly evaporate. And now, in the meantime, I'm also going to pick out chips from the fridge because I already pre-cooked them. So I cooked them once boiled, then I fry them again at 140 temperature, and now the last round is at 190 to fry. In the meantime, I'm going to read your next message, and I kind of going to just say it quite short because you're given a description which I think I would like for you to tell and share rather than me read it out. But your third one is make time for yourself. So tell me more about it.
Yeah, especially in this day and age when we're so busy and there's so many distractions as well, particularly with things like social media. We've got our phones almost permanently attached to our hands, and there's always notifications and the phone's pinging and vibrating and it's always pulling your attention away to something outside of yourself. By, again, having that self-awareness that we talked about earlier and making time for you to help you feel good, it's something that I think is really important, especially now when we're more stressed and distracted than ever, really, because you're almost losing touch with yourself and who you are. So making that time where no distractions, put the phone away, switch the TV off, switch off Netflix, and just be present with yourself. Not even necessarily like reading a book or anything, just, I suppose, self-hypnosis, that kind of thing, or meditation, whatever your thing is, where it just allows you to be present with yourself. I think it's really important. And as I say, it's doing something that makes you feel good. That's the key takeaway, really.
And you know what? I really like that you brought this one up, because I've seen from so many people, my friends and colleagues, we almost feel guilty by making time for yourself.
Absolutely.
And how much time is the time that it's not going to almost feel like you're lazy or you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
How would you structure, let's say, your week where you're giving yourself time?
So it really depends on what my schedule's looking like work-wise and training-wise, for example. But once I know when my appointments are, then I know when I would have available to make time for myself, because let's be real, you know, we've got to pay the bills, we've got to work. So it's balancing the necessities with being able to just take that time. And that is a necessity as well, to take that time for yourself. But as I say, we have to pay the bills, we have to work. So make the time when it fits in with your schedule. And if you have kids as well, obviously that's something else that can make it more challenging. But, and I'm not saying I have all the answers with this either, but if you can factor some time in, and it can be as little as a few minutes, you know, it really doesn't have to be, right, I'm going to have 2 hours here to myself. It's got to be realistic as well. But even in as little as 5 minutes, you can just put yourself into a fantastic state of mind. And it has such a profound effect on your day, especially when you know what you're doing with it. That's the thing. It's because, again, if you're not trained in meditation or hypnosis, or name the modality, if you're not trained in it, you might be thinking, oh God, well, what do I do? What, you know? But if you have some knowledge in it, or you've learned a particular technique that resonates with you, like we were talking about earlier with the affirmations or the visualizations, whatever it might be, if you know what you're doing with that, that's a great place to start with, taking that time for yourself and getting yourself in the best possible frame of mind.
Yeah, because I never used to meditate before, so only almost 4 years now that I love meditating. And I was one of those people who used to say, meditating? Snooze. No, not for me. We'll never understand what it is. But something tragic happened in my life that I needed to do something. And meditation was the most amazing thing I've ever done. It literally took me through grief, through COVID, and took me not just, got by. It made miracles happen, literally. And it's one of the best things that I could possibly have discovered within me. Meditation saved me, but not just saved me. It also opened my eyes like never before, and I've connected, with everything I could possibly connect, and literally call it magic now. So people who don't meditate, it's fine. I think we can find time for ourselves is doing something we love, isn't it? So taking dog for a walk, or driving, having a walk, going to gym, having a coffee and a biscuit, even watching TV, anything that is time for yourself, isn't it? And I was one of those people who were feeling guilty if I kind of like have still lots to do. Like there's no time for me to just sit around here, So time for myself was only weekends. But as I was getting older, I kind of, start learning and appreciate that time for yourself. And I don't feel too guilty, even if it lasts a bit longer than an hour or two, right? It depends on everyone's life, right? Like there could be could be a single mom with 3 kids. You like, what you talking, girl? Time for yourself. But that could just be literally in 5 minutes of, looking through the window and having a tea. Nothing is, like you said, you don't have a secret formula. Nothing is, this is how much you have to have, what feels right. And if I may refer to that moment again, attached to the emotion. So time for yourself is not, okay, I'm having time to myself, 5 minutes. No, you need to feel it almost. Because then your body relaxes, then it understands what's happening, isn't it? And your everything around you, the energy, everything just, calms down. So it goes from that stress level to calm. And I guess then everything becomes more clearer. You get more clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you mentioned Joe Dispenza earlier, and he talks a lot about the word meditation, and its translation is to become familiar with. And
is that what it means? To become familiar with?
That's what he says it means.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't checked, so I can't corroborate necessarily. But it makes sense because you're becoming familiar with yourself. And as you were saying there, you don't necessarily have to meditate strictly to do that. If you just take that time to become familiar with yourself and what makes you feel good, what puts you in a good state, then that's a good thing. And it's all about balance as well. There's a lot of the kind of hustle or, grind culture now where you must work hard 24/7. You're constantly pushing the boundaries, that kind of thing. And that's great up to a point. Sooner or later, something's going to give. And usually it's either a relationship or health, work maybe. It could be something quite major if you're not careful with it. So you do have to be mindful that having balance, we need to sleep at night to clean our brains out and replenish the body for the days ahead, and balance is very important with it.
And did you find yourself ever to go out of that, make time for yourself, and then notice that something is not right, maybe with your health or your mindset? Did you find yourself in a situation like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the perfect example right now for me is if I don't have a good night's sleep, I'm cranky. So
grumpy.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's and that again is having that balance, because if I've had a hard training session and then I'm working all day and then I don't sleep well, the rest to work ratio, and I'm including training in work there, or activity, let's say, the rest to activity ratio is out of balance. And so if it's something as one night's bad sleep, you can compensate for that. You might sleep longer the next night or maybe catch up on the weekends. But if it's a chronic issue, if you're not sleeping well every night, your adrenals are going to get fatigued. You might end up having some kind of mood disorder. It could even be a physical injury. Something manifests in the body because these things tend to manifest themselves in the weak points, So it's all about having the balance. Like people talk about a balanced diet, same sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm quite pleased you brought the balance as well into this, because again, make time for yourself. It's all about that balance of what is right. How long do I give myself to, not feeling guilty?
Yeah.
But I think with everything you do in life, balance is so important, because when you think you athlete and you constantly preparing, let's say for competitions, you think this is all I have to do now. But we forget that there are so many other aspects around your life, and health and well-being and sleep, as you said. I mean, if I have to get 8 or 9 hours sometimes sleep, because I can't function without sleep. I go to bed really early and wake up really early, and I can't go to bed past 10. I know it's not going to be good, because I'm already taking away my morning time quite a lot. And I think people say sleep is also basically a cure for everything, because it fixes all your cells in your brain. It rewires, it prepares you again, it refreshes you. It's almost like gives you new thought, new framework for the day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Literally, when you sleep, I forget the name of the cell, but your brain literally cleans itself out.
I forgot the name as well.
Kind of like... It'll come to me when we finish, I'm sure. But yeah, so your brain cleans itself out, and also you rewire neural pathways when you're in rapid eye movement sleep as well. So if you're not getting that, you're not getting a vital part of your brain health. And going back to what you were saying earlier about feeling guilty for taking time for yourself in whatever way that may be, if you're not taking time for yourself, chances are you're not going to be showing up in the world or in your world as the best version of yourself either, because you're stressed, you know, and whether that's looking after your children or going to work or running your business, whatever it might be, if you're not keeping things in balance and taking that time for yourself as well, it's going to have a trickle-down effect into all these other areas in your life. So it is really important.
Wow, love that. And you know, when you were talking about the cells, it's the same goes with comparing yourself or having the conviction is creating those new cells in your brain. So let's say if you listen to Stuart now and you're thinking, I really would love to have that conviction, you know, it starts from having that, I would love to have that conviction, right? And then what happens in your brain, you keep on creating that new cell or new nervous kind of, I don't know what's the word again, I'm like, new nervous pathway.
Yeah, neural pathway.
Neural pathway, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's when the more you think about it, so the more you having that conviction or that thought, I am winning this, I'm already a winner. The neural pathway gets thicker and thicker and then gets more embedded and becomes much easier, isn't it? Because maybe at first for you, all the things went just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I am a winner, so I've got this already. It needed quite some time for your brain to accept it and feel it. And with practice, it gets better, isn't it? It becomes actually normal you. It becomes actually you. Yeah. The new you could say even, right?
That's exactly right. It takes practice. It does take practice. And as you said there, when you think this new thought, whatever that might be, there's going to be, unless you're in hypnosis, I'll put that caveat there, unless you're in hypnosis, that doesn't happen. But if you're thinking this new thought, there's going to be that little voice of doubt in your head, you know, you can't do that, or no, you're not this, you're not that, whatever it might be. And having the practice, as you said, is going to help rewire those neural pathways in the brain. Because if you're thinking new thoughts, you have, let's say, 2 neurons in the brain which aren't attached. And so you need to think about that with repetition to connect these 2 neurons and strengthen that neural pathway. It's the same, I use the analogy of training in the gym. You know, if you go to the gym, if you want bigger biceps or stronger biceps, you go to the gym and you do bicep curls regularly, whatever frequency that is, based on your training program. Your biceps, if you're doing it correctly with a challenging enough weight, are going to get stronger. If you stop doing that, your biceps are going to atrophy. The neural connection will diminish as well because you're not using them. And our bodies want homeostasis. It wants to stay as it is. Doesn't like change.
Oh, I see.
And so if you want to change, you need that repetition to build. And going back to the brain, if we're installing new thoughts, new feelings, and new behaviors, once that new neural connection is established, old neural connections, a bit like the bicep example we just talked about, or I just talked about, that old neural connection will atrophy, it will get smaller. And we know this now from fMRI studies and neuroscience. That will get smaller, and eventually the brain will cut the ties. It's called synaptic pruning. That's the synaptic pruning. Like you would prune a hedge. You know, when it's getting too long, you cut the hedge back. Your brain does that. There's an old thought, old feeling, old behavior here that I don't need anymore. So,
and it's not being used.
It's not being used. It's just wasting energy being there. So I'm going to cut the ties. And that's literally what happens in your brain when you install new thought processes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't know about that one. I like that. I'm going to do a bit of research on that.
Yeah.
So, Stuart, you are a hypnotherapist now.
I am.
How many years have you been doing that?
So I've been doing hypnotherapy just over 9 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love a completely separate show on that as well, because I haven't done much. I've only done once. And I would say it was quite helpful and quite kind of evoking different feelings. And I didn't continue, sadly, with it. And I wish I did, because then I would have linked better my feelings and would understand what path to take. Whereas I kind of like was left with all the emotions, like I can't go back there. It was too much. That's what I felt. And and then now that I've started coaching myself, I've realized what a impactful thing hypnotherapy is. And you could actually cure things. Like you can actually change. Let's say if you have headaches, people cure headaches with hypnotherapy. Quit smoking and all the addictions. People change their lives even with hypnotherapy. And I was reading about it before you coming in here to just see like some case studies and people who have amazing results from hypnotherapy. So can you just tell me a little bit what it is whilst I'm plating your food? I'm just going to plate it right now and show it to people what I've made. And then whilst you're talking a little bit, tell me what is it? What do you do to us?
Sure. So yeah, hypnotherapy or hypnosis, it's a really powerful tool. And honestly, the scope of it is vast. I've worked with clients in the past with some issues that I'd never even heard of before meeting them. And it's been able to help them. I mean, ethically, we can't necessarily claim to cure things, but
I probably used the wrong word,
but it can.
Yeah,
it can. And as long as someone is open to the possibility of it, I always say to my clients, don't necessarily blindly believe everything I'm going to tell you, but be open to the possibility. And hypnotherapy utilizes the state of hypnosis to affect changes in our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. And,
I see, yes.
And so when you are undergoing a hypnotic state, let's say, we're making use of slowing your brain waves down, because at the moment, your brain waves, more so than mine, are probably in a higher beta brainwave, because you're listening to me, you're cooking food, you're thinking about all this stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely conscious and subconscious, everything now.
So yeah, you've got a lot going on in your mind right now, probably more than I have. But yeah, so we're both in a beta brainwave state, and that's the brainwave state where we're conscious, we're awake, we're aware, we've got thoughts popping in and out of our minds all the time. That's the state that we're typically in our day-to-day lives. Now, there is a brainwave state above that, which is the gamma brainwave state, and that's when your brainwaves are highly organized but really fast frequency. So a state of euphoria, let's say, is an example of a gamma brainwave state. It's above 30 or 35 hertz, depending on who you ask. The beta brainwave state is the biggest bandwidth brainwave state. It's between 12 and 30 or 35 hertz. So if you had an EEG scan, if you had the electrodes attached to your brain, the wavelength that you see on the screen there, that's what I'm talking about in terms of the number of hertz. So it's how many times it peaks. When you slow your brain waves down a little bit from the beta state, you get into what's called the alpha state. And if you've ever caught yourself or seen someone else daydreaming, that's
many times.
Yep, as we all have. That's the beginnings of self-hypnosis. That's the state where you're not bothered by things around you, but you're aware. So you're aware of what's going on, but you're in your own little world. That's when you start to get more creative in that brainwave state. That's between 8 and 12 hertz. When we slow the brain waves down a little bit more, we go into the theta state, which is between 4 and 8 hertz. And that's where the magic happens, because that's where your critical faculties that are judging what's the information that's coming in, they're set to one side. And that's where I'm talking to your subconscious mind in hypnotherapy, because the positive suggestions that I'm giving are not met with any resistance. So I can influence in the right way your brain to think in new ways and feel new feelings and subsequently behave in a different way. So that's where I'm working typically when I'm in hypnotherapy or in hypnosis with a client. There is another brainwave state, the delta state, and that's when, if you are fast asleep at night, not dreaming, when you're dead to the world, so to speak, that's when you're in a delta brainwave state, and we don't actually get that deep into it when we're in hypnosis.
Because you won't be able to kind of take it in and hear you almost, isn't it? You're almost too far.
Well, you can actually. Yeah. You can, but just because of how your sleep cycles work, when we're actually in a session, we don't get to that depth, that's all. But yeah, you literally could, if you put earphones in at night and listen to some affirmations or listen to some kind of script, you can program your mind even in that delta state.
So I've got a question. So I'm just going to quickly show the viewers. Ribeye steak, hopefully it's medium well. I've got two options there. Triple cooked chips with peppercorn sauce. I'm going to give this to you. And on a side, we have a grilled iceberg lettuce with salsa verde, which has mint, coriander, anchovies, olive oil, spices, and then we got some toasted pumpkin seeds and parmesan on top. There you
Lovely.
go.
Thank you very much.
Please cut it. Please test it. Tell the viewers whether it's right or wrong. I didn't want to pour the sauce on top, but see how you like eating yourself. So, what in terms of hypnotherapy, what kind of people you have to come over to you and for, like, if you just say, well, I would love to know what it is, but is it for me? How do I know? So what does hypnotherapy do to whom?
So again, genuinely, it can help anyone with most issues. I always remember my mentor saying to me that typically it's the last resort for people. If counseling hasn't worked, or CBT hasn't worked, or some other psychotherapy hasn't worked, then hypnotherapy comes, because it's historically been a bit more out there and a little bit more weird, let's say. That was my perception of it before I got into it. But if it speaks to you, if you think that it might be able to help, then give it a try. That's my advice. And as I say, me personally, I specialize in working with athletes, sports people, business owners, high pressure corporate workers. But that's not to say that I don't work with anybody else either, because you train as a generalist. So if I've got the time and it's within my remit, I'll help anybody that I can. And as I say, the issues can be anything and everything, genuinely.
Yeah, and I guess it's like with everything. If you, let's say, people who come coaching, it's you want to have coaching, so you have to have the desire, almost like, I'd love to have hypnotherapy. And let's say I would love to have hypnotherapy with you, and I would love to see what is there that we could do. And I don't necessarily have to say I have these issues. I actually would love to experience it. Yeah. And as long as you say nice things to me and you don't tell me that I can't cook, right?
No, I wouldn't dream of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think, I'm definitely going to take on it and having that just good. And you can do that over video, or the person has to be with you? So
I can do it by video online or in person, depending on where we're located. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. It's only since COVID that I actually started doing sessions online, because I'd never done it before that. And actually now it's opened up my target audience, really, because I can work with people anywhere in the world. I've got clients that I've worked with in Australia, the Middle East, America,
Amazing.
all online. The only thing
Yeah.
is managing the time difference and
Yeah.
having a good internet connection. That's the only limiting factor there. So it can work
Amazing.
just as well.
Okay, well, I'll let you to try the steak.
Thank you. It looks lovely.
Thank you. I will put the details of Stuart's contact details on mindsetkitchen.co.uk. This will be on YouTube as well. So if you do want to get in touch with Stuart, I will definitely share the details, as well as I'll share the details of the recipe and all the mindset messages that Stuart has brought to us today. Hopefully you enjoy the steak. I'm also going to have a steak with Stuart. Thank you so much for watching us. Hopefully you find it inspirational, just like I did. I had a huge pleasure having you here. It's amazing that every time I get a guest and I get something as a takeaway. So it's working both ways, to be honest. And thank you so much for being so open and honest and sharing everything. And hopefully people enjoyed it and will have something to take away.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stuart.
Diana. Thank you for having me.